And we're back with segment 2 of the TMCJ podcast named Subject to Change. This is where we talk about media, whatever happens to catch our fancy regarding media. So if you just listened to the last segment and heard us going on for days and days about maybe cultural differences and different regions in England and in the US, this will be a welcome break because we're going to talk about things that may be more relatable or less relatable.
Yeah? What's the what?
I don't know. That intro was pure gibberish.
Okay.
What?
I like it. It's become so natural saying when you're like, TMCJ podcast, what, likely to change. Subject to change, that's the word. Subject to change would be a good title.
Subject to oh my god, actually that might be. We may rename this the Subject to Change podcast.
It would be a habit. None of our plans ever work.
We'll see what happens. Anyway, I think what we should start with in this segment is Passengers, because we've been holding off talking about it because that was a movie that was our last movie night movie. We finally watched it, and we didn't talk about it after the fact except to like a limited extent. I fell asleep watching it, but I've seen the movie before.
Yes. Yeah, I got the end, and the loud end credits were playing, and I was like, Kaiser?
And meanwhile, I'm laying on my couch with my headset on my eyes. Like, it literally,
Yeah.
I woke up, I had like rolled over, the headset had popped off my head, and it was just sitting on my face.
Yeah, and it was like 3 in the morning here, or something stupid, so I couldn't exactly...
Yeah, it was like 7 or 8
Yeah.
o'clock. It wasn't even that late here. It was just, I hadn't slept well the night before, so I was just out. But
Yeah. But the movie itself was not something that would send you to sleep, I wouldn't say.
No. And to be fair, one of the reasons, so I do have to take a dig at Amazon again here. I bragged on the podcast last week that I had found a way around Amazon's thing by using the Elgato. Unfortunately, audio didn't come through, which meant that the way we had to watch the movie was I used my little clever workaround to project the video through the stream so that Blue and his lovely girlfriend could watch, but they couldn't hear anything. So what I ended up having to do was to turn on my speakers and point the mic I'm using to record right now at the speakers. And to make sure that I wasn't banging things on my desk or making noise, I went over and laid on my couch to watch the movie. To my computer monitor. Yeah. Brilliant setup with one major flaw. The movie's about 2 hours long, and near the end of it, I just started dozing off and completely fell asleep in the last 10 minutes of the movie.
Oh, well, while we're on the a quick Amazon topic.
Okay, yeah.
Briefly before we get into actual Passenger. Because we brought up Amazon, we of course have to bring up Netflix. Netflix
By law.
fucked up.
By law, we have to bring up Netflix at the same time.
Oh, big.
What do they do?
Have you seen the controversy around...
Oh, are you talking about that weird French movie?
I don't know if it's French. It's called Cuties.
Yep, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, so Netflix has decided to dip its toe into pedophilia for some reason.
Right?
I
God.
I do not know why people are defending that fucking... Like, I've seen the controversy. I have not seen any trailers for it.
Nope.
I have not, like... I've had friends that are canceling...
Days ago.
Honestly, I've been considering canceling my Netflix subscription for quite a while now. This might be the straw that breaks the camel's back. Because the fact that not only are they hosting that, but they're defending it. They need to take a step back and really re-examine what the fuck they're doing with their lives.
Yeah, like, so there was a big controversy when the poster came out about it.
Right.
And then like, no, don't worry, this won't actually happen in the film, like that kind of stuff. And then it happened apparently like 6 times in the film.
So I follow a couple like film critics and stuff on YouTube. Same. And I've listened to them talking about it, and they've seen clips and trailers from it, and they describe it as much worse than that poster.
Yes.
And
That's what I've heard.
I just, Jesus Christ. So we've dipped into controversy in the first 5 minutes of this, but I think it's something that it's relevant in media. It's something that we need to talk about because it's absolutely disgusting.
Yes.
Like, I understand, like, if you're say like a parent and your kid is into dancing and whatnot, and it's like it's a private thing and you want to encourage them and have them. This
Where
is
it's not sexualized. Yeah.
This is not the, like, even if this is a kind of dancing that you as a parent are okay with your kid doing, which if you are, what the fuck is wrong with you? But okay, whatever. Your family, your kid, whatever. But then to have it filmed and projected to the whole fucking world. No. There is something seriously, I don't know. This is, if I keep talking, I'm gonna get legitimately angry if I keep talking about this. But
Sorry.
but I know what you're talking about. I know the controversy.
Yep.
If people listening want to go up and look it up, look it up. You may want to cancel your Netflix subscription after you see it. But yeah, just disgusting.
I don't think it's really I haven't done research on it. I've not seen any scenes, right? So I can't really talk on.
I don't want to watch scenes from it.
Exactly.
That's the thing. So, I've been following it like third hand, like listening to critics talking about it and stuff like that. Like critics I actually trust, not the ones that are like, paid to review it well. But and I just listening to the things that I've heard secondhand, it just sickens me. I don't want to see the trailers. Yeah.
Sorry, that was because you talked about Amazon.
No, yeah. Yeah, so, hey, look, we found a reason to shit on Netflix this week. Normally we're shitting on Amazon.
Amazon wins this one.
Yeah. Amazon, you did good by not doing bad.
Yeah, by not doing anything.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
But yeah, back to Passengers.
Really, really enjoyed the film. Alicia, I could tell, especially enjoyed it because she got quite emotionally attached to the characters. There were several things that, in my horribly nerdy brain, were like, "That's not quite like right. That wouldn't have happened. That's dumb."
Yeah, and that's. It's funny you mentioned that because you kind of alluded to this when we spoke briefly earlier this week, and we held off discussing we held off discussing the movie like to any significant degree. I like when I first watched that movie and when I've watched it subsequent times, I never remember any of the sci-fi stuff because at its core, the story is about like
it's a social
people.
Experiment.
Exactly. Yeah. It's a character story. It's about one person who's on a desert island and is so desperate that they'll literally ruin somebody else's life just to not be alone for another day.
Yeah. And so okay.
But tell me tell me a
synopsis of the film before I tear it to shit.
Yeah. So synopsis of the film. Essentially, it's near or sort of near future. Humanity has started colonizing other planets, but they have to do it through not faster than light ships. Excuse me. So what they do is they make these ships that fly some fraction of the speed of light, and they put people in cryogenic sleep for years as they're traveling to these other star systems. At which point they get there, they wake up, and they go to work on the planet, start a new life in a brand new world. But it's been years, so they're essentially, anyone that goes on these trips is leaving their friends and family behind forever. They, like, even if they can talk to them again, it would take decades for the message even to get back to the solar system. during the beginning of the movie, one of the people, kind of a low level engineer, who's kind of riding steerage class, he wakes up early, decades early, like several decades early. I think it was something like 90 years before they were actually going to arrive at the planet, and because of some glitch in the ship, and he proceeds to just try and find a way to send a message for help, but like I said, it takes years for the message to get back. He tries to figure out if there's a way to put himself back to sleep. It doesn't work, and he spends months and months like that, slowly going crazy or thinking of random projects to do on the ship, until eventually he gets so desperate. This is not a huge spoiler, but keep in mind, if you keep listening past this point, there will be spoilers. He gets so desperate that he ends up waking up one of the other passengers, a beautiful woman, who he has in his mind just become attached to from reading things that he has access to on the ship. She's apparently a journalist. She's done a bunch of work, and he reads through her and feels like he knows her and everything like that. And all the things a desperate, lonely, stranded person will tell themselves to justify what they're about to do. And he wakes her up knowing that it's going to condemn her to death just like him. And it's about, the rest of the movie is just the two of them slowly growing closer, and then her realizing what he did, and then at the climax of the movie, them realizing there's a bigger problem with the ship in general, and dealing with that, and what happens in the aftermath. I'm not going to go too much further because the ending is really amazing, but that's the brief synopsis of the movie. So go ahead, tear it to shreds.
Yeah. Okay. So, starting with the lady that he wakes up.
Yeah.
And I know I said this to you previously, but I do not like the fact that she is, from the moment she's woken up, she is just a damsel in distress. The actress has done amazingly in other roles like the Hunger Games, where she's a bit of a badass. In this, she just she moans a lot. She tries to kill the guy because he woke her up, and she finds out. And she's not a mechanic. She's not. For the scenario that they're in, she is not integral.
Well, okay. Yeah, no, finish your thought, because I do have I have a rebuttal.
And so I do not think so. You know how he, as an engineer, is literally the lowest of the low on board that ship. So he gets the corn meat and like.
Oh yeah. He can't get the gold star breakfast because he's.
Why the heck? He is super. He's like integral to the mission. He is one of the most important people on the ship, and he gets that. And a journalist gets 5-star golden daddy's good girl food. Like they're like 20 levels of authority apart.
Yeah. So.
And he's more useful than she is.
I hear you, but I argue all of what you just said as issues you had with the movie. I think that was on purpose. All of that was on purpose, and I think all of it is internally consistent with the movie, because this ship that is transporting in between galaxies, essentially, it's owned by a company, right? And that company is purchasing. Like, there's two ways you can get a ticket on that ship because it's enormously expensive to send it. You can get a ticket on that ship because you are, if you're valuable, then you get a discounted ticket, but you're still going to be riding steerage class. But if you paid for your ticket 100%, then you're going to get some special perks and treatment. And so he was an engineer. He was a poor dude, not really like he was like middle class. I can't say poor because most engineers actually make a decent wage. But
more than generally.
Yeah. I know. No, you'd be surprised what journalists make. especially like the big name ones. But yeah, so he was buying his way not with cash but with his skills. And so
Yes.
the way those things normally work is he's like, and they say this in the movie, he's getting a discounted ticket because he's going to be valuable where he goes. This comes out in one of the interviews she does with him during the movie. But at the same time, because he's not paying full price for his ticket, he doesn't get like the good food and the luxuries and things like that. Because the way the ship works is 3 months before they arrive, it's just a cruise ship. Basically, people get to party and have fun. She, on the other hand, was a famous journalist, and she was
famous.
Her father was famous, but so was she. Because one of the reasons he wakes her up is he's reading all these big name articles and things that she wrote, and her company was essentially paying for her to fly there and fly back and get the first ever story of somebody who has like leapt through time essentially, and to write about her experiences.
Freelance.
No.
Okay.
Well,
I suppose she does.
Actually, you know what? She may have been freelance, but the point was she was essentially flying business class.
Yeah.
So her ticket was paid for 100%, so she got like the luxury treatment. That's why it wasn't that she was more valuable to the trip, it was that she paid more for her ticket. It's like, you know, if you're on an airline in the modern day, flying somewhere, it doesn't matter if you're an aeronautical engineer. If you only paid for a coach ticket, or you got a discounted ticket, or you paid with miles, you're not going to get the same treatment as, you know, some, you know, Hollywood executive who is completely useless on the plane, but he paid cash.
No, I hear flight staff actually get like better.
You're talking about flight staff, but we're talking in this instance we're talking about people. He has very relevant technical skills when it comes to building things up and when they're actually on the ground. But when the ship's in transit, yeah, he knows engineering, but the ship's in transit. The ship's already built. It should just function. So why would they give him a special ticket? The skills matter when he lands and gets on the ground.
Okay, this is all mostly like things that just irk.
Yeah. So what you're saying? Sorry, let me just. I'll capstone this thought. What you're saying makes perfect sense if it was like a planetary government sending a ship, right? And it was purely like a lottery based on who we need to colonize this planet. But it wasn't. It was a corporate ship. It was a for-profit, like, private enterprise to go off and colonize this other planet. And that's why it's just who paid the most cash for the ticket that's going to actually, you know, get the fancy breakfast.
Yeah. Like I said, that's just the stuff that kind of irked me. What the major flaw was, first off, the biggest one, in my opinion, why didn't they just wake up everybody?
So, there's a reason for that.
From the start.
There's a reason for that. Reason number one, he tried. But he tried to wake up the people who actually were going to be able to help them, the crew and the staff. But they were in locked, sealed bunkers.
No, they weren't.
Yeah, they were.
No, the captain was in one of the regular pods.
No, he wasn't. He was behind the door in the crew area.
Was he?
He was.
I suppose they never showed his pod, did they?
They didn't, but the whole, like, he was able, like, the sealed crew area, that's where he came out of. He was able to open the bridge himself because he was one of the crew, but the crew had separate space, so they could have woken up, like, a ton of other people, but they would have just been other random yahoos. It wouldn't have solved anything. And it would have been condemning those people to die of old age on the ship, just like him.
I still think it would have, because there would be.
This is why
be someone who had some level of authority that wasn't sealed inside the goddamn bunker. 'Cause, I mean, that ship is freaking huge.
In theory,
the command area was tiny.
I agree. If I were designing that ship, that's the way I would set it up. But that's not how they set it up in the movie. Like, in the movie, all the other random people were in one spot, and all the crew were in a segregated, lockdown area.
That lockdown area was tiny.
Yeah, well,
Like
if the ship... But think about it. If the ship is capable for traveling for 98 years with no human interaction...
Yeah.
Then you don't need a huge crew, because most things are going to be automated.
Yeah, but you need, like, the landing is, like, the hardest part, dare I say it. Like, you can ride a bike.
That is true. So
easy, but stopping is no thing.
Sci-fi wise, maybe there's some flaws. But that's why I go back to the story isn't about, like, it's not a hard sci-fi series. It's a characters drama. It's about these two people who are stuck in this area. One of them who was stuck all alone and then made a very desperate, horrible decision. And then that other person having to live with the consequences of the first person's desperation.
Okay, one more breaking theory, alright?
Mm-hmm.
Last one, because there are more, but I won't go into it. The guy is, like, face first in front of, like, a freaking volcano worth of heat.
Yeah.
Like, literal years worth of this huge engine building up heat, and it gets released on him in the space of about 10 seconds.
Yep.
One little panel wouldn't do jack shit.
No. You're talking the climactic scene there. Yeah, he should have been crispy fried bacon.
And then he should have died from oxygen, from being exposed to no atmosphere.
Yep.
And then he is diagnosed as dead. And he's still, with the power of magic and love, back to life.
I'm 100% on board with you on that point. The climactic part of the movie, there is some very soft science fiction. But that's why I say that I like the movie not for the sci-fi elements. I like the movie because it has a very well-written character drama in it. And what you were saying about the woman earlier, about how she's kind of like a wet towel compared to some of her other roles. It's true, but I think that's by design. She has her strong moments. She's clearly a very a woman with conviction and somebody who has goals in mind. And I think she reacts pretty accurately to someone who has come from that kind of pampered lifestyle, but who also has conviction and has goals, and then having all of that shattered. And I think she rightfully acts kind of indignant, and in some instances maybe justifiably, but a bit childish.
Well, despite all this, like I say, it's actually a really good movie.
Yeah, watch the movie. Yeah. It may
sound like
every complaint that we're talking about right now, they're blemishes on an otherwise beautiful movie.
Yeah.
Take a watch.
Just see it as a social experiment. And better.
If you don't watch it if you're looking for hard sci-fi, but if you're looking for like a good character story and an example of very well written character drama,
popular actors.
Yeah. Chris Pratt wasn't super popular at that time. It came out in 2016.
Yeah, I mean these days every single one of the actors is recognizable. Well, maybe not the barkeep.
I've only seen him in one other thing, a movie or a TV show called Altered Carbon. Very good series. Huh. Well, they came out with season 2, and I watched the first half of the first episode of season 2 and just got bored. Season 1 was great, and I feel like they started... Actually, that's a really good transition into what I really want to talk about. It's a new series that I just picked up this week, and binge watched like the entire first season in a matter of days,
You're talking
And
about Altered Carbon, right?
no.
Okay.
I I used Altered Carbon as a jumping off point. I was saying in Altered Carbon, the first season was extremely strong. The second season bored me, and that was the transition I used to talk about a series that I've been watching this week,
Which is...
Lucifer.
Oh, yeah. It's
Have
been popping up on my feed for months.
Yeah, Netflix picked it up, and I think they decided to continue it. I think it was a TV show, and then Netflix decided to buy it. The first season of that. So premise of the series, they took the Christian mythos and decided to make a series about it. The idea being Lucifer, the devil, gets sick of presiding over hell and the unfair treatment he's got, and he comes to Earth and opens a nightclub, and where it's just all kinds of sin and debauchery. But he's still got all his divine powers, and then there's drama with people trying to get him back to his job in hell, essentially.
I think of all the businesses one could set up as the devil, like a nightclub, a gambling hall, something like that is very predictable. I want to see the butcher, the devil, sort of like a bakery,
but
the devil's buns.
So this is one of the reasons I really love the first season, is they actually paid attention to the lore, for lack of a better word. Because the whole story with Lucifer is he was...
The being the Bible.
Yeah, exactly. Lucifer was supposed to be God's most greatest angel. He was the most beloved. But he led a rebellion against heaven and was cast out and made to be the Lord of Hell. That's the lore behind him, and they really play on that and make it a character drama where he's bitter, and essentially everything he does, every sin and debauchery that he indulges in, is his rebellion against the fact that he feels betrayed. He feels like he was cast out unjustly. Anyway,
a big old sad face.
So the first season really goes into that quite a bit, and they also, but it has this interaction with it's like that's the supernatural element, but it's all encased in like a cop drama, like a CSI style cop drama, where there's a detective, and they're like, Lucifer essentially ends up pairing off with this detective and solving crimes at the same time as he's being like this quote, for lack of a better term, charming devil.
Yeah, gotcha. Can I just pause you there for a quick 5 minutes, mate?
Oh, yeah, sorry. Sorry, we're going to do a little transition here. Blue's got to take care of something, but we will be back in like 2 seconds. All right, sorry for that brief interruption. Kind of knew that there might be a little cut in one of these. But just to pick up where I left off. So talking about Lucifer. First season, excellent. They come in with the cop drama, but there's a heavy supernatural element. There's this idea that there's this dangerous person. Like, he's not a person, like the devil. He's there. He's got this dangerous, like, evil
if he's
side.
The devil, doesn't he have, like, why would he set up this?
But
like, it's not like he needs money.
He doesn't need money. The reason he did it in the series, and this becomes obvious as you watch the series, is that he is looking to get away. Like, he never felt at home in heaven. He never felt at home in hell, because that hell was his punishment to lord over it. And so he's trying to find a place to belong. Like, that's a heavy element of the series. And so he did this basically to have a place of his own, to have his own little castle, essentially.
Right.
There's a few things in the series you really can't read into too far, and that's one of them. But I liked the first season because it was heavy in that supernatural element. They had a little bit of that cop drama and investigational element there, and it interacted with that supernatural element. And the thing is, he's upfront with everyone about him being the devil, but most people just think he's either an actor or insane, or deranged in some way. And so no one takes him seriously. But a few people like push him too far over the edge, and he reveals it to him, and he drives them insane, like by horrifying them in some way. And that sort of like dynamic, I love series. There's a couple of series that I've seen like that. An anime in particular that pops to mind is Elfen Lied. This idea where you as the audience realize that this perfectly normal person is interacting with someone that appears perfectly normal but is fully capable of just slaughtering this person outright.
Yeah.
And that tension from that interaction like is really...
The thing is that he has literally nothing that can hurt him at all.
They introduce something though. That's the thing.
Oh, for fuck's sake. But
So-
nothing should be stronger than the
No,
devil.
no, I know, but think of yes, you're right. Let me continue with my synopsis, and then I can tell you where I think this goes off the rail. I do agree with you. They needed to introduce something like that. So one of the first things that happens is one of the other angels gets sent down to bring him back, essentially, and they can obviously hurt each other. Humans can't hurt him. He gets shot several times in the series, and he's fine. But he also starts to realize that this kind of detective that he's with, first of all, he can't use his like kind of hypnotic charm on her for some reason, and then whenever he's around her, he can actually be harmed. He can actually start to bleed and take damage from mundane mortal objects. And that becomes a kind of a dynamic throughout the series, him figuring that out in the first season. Then we get to the second season.
Yeah.
And the second season opens strong. They introduce like kind of a new threat, a new dynamic to it. But then they just flounder around, and it turns into CSI with a supernatural skin, rather than like a supernatural show with a little bit of investigation and CSI kind of stuff tacked on. And that's why I initially watched it. And go on.
The process is good. I feel already like there's a lot of... Man, this whole fucking episode is just going to be me complaining about TV shows and movies. Some that I haven't even seen. Like, okay, if the devil can bleed,
Yeah.
then you can kill the devil.
Yes.
If there's no devil, then everyone on the planet would be like, great, if we go to hell, it'll be a fucking vacation because there's no devil. Let's just do the worst goddamn things possible. So, like, even the angels can't be going, ooh, we better rough up the devil because if the devil dies, then they're fucked.
This is a point... Sorry, I do have to jump in here. This is a point they address in the series.
Okay, cool.
So the idea is hell is going to exist no matter what. Lucifer was sent there as a punishment to preside over it and ensure that things kept going. He's punishing the wicked, and so on, and making sure that the wicked got their appropriate punishments.
Yeah, so if he's not...
But if he's not there, one of the big plot points is one of the other angels is having to sort of like part-time step in and preside over it, since he's just decided to fuck off to Earth.
That's hilarious.
And that's one of the primary like motivations of that angel to get him back. He's like, I don't want this fucking job. It's your job.
Oh,
And
yeah, I'm just saying, Greg, I'm not the devil. I'm in part-time down here.
But
I've
you're
been
right.
told you've been a very bad boy. You need a good spanking.
You're making fun of it, but that literally is the way. That's the way they treat it. I was saying the same thing watching it. I was like, this is. It became, but there was still that heavy supernatural element in the first part of the series. When it gets to season 2, it literally becomes that. That joke that you just made, that's the extent of the supernatural shit. Like, they take what was such a strong opening, and these really interesting characters and this tense like power dynamic between the humans and the supernatural beings, and they systematically just neuter it throughout the rest of the series until at the end, like, the devil is less threatening than like an 8-year-old that's the daughter of one of the cops.
Right. So you
Like,
become softened by humanity.
yeah, not only softened by, like, he still has his powers. There's several points in the series where the writing is very inconsistent in the second season, and a little bit in the first season too. Like, in some scenes, he can, like, jump on top of a building in the blink of an eye and, like, throw someone across a room that, like, weighs like 3 times his size,
Yeah.
or 3 times his weight. But then in other scenes, like, he's suddenly scared because, like, a 90-pound woman holds a pair of scissors to his throat. It's like, you could just blink behind her and punch her heart out. Like, why are you afraid? Like, I'm not saying he should do that, but why is he afraid?
He's the devil. He can do whatever the fuck
Exactly.
he wants.
That's what starts to piss me off in the second season. Like, they take these powerful characters, and the reason that these powerful characters didn't, like, just basically walk roughshod over the humans in their path was because there were certain restrictions in place. Either it was because it was one of the angels and they're not allowed to directly harm mortal humans by, God's decree, or it was because it was the devil, Lucifer, and he had this kind of mild sympathy for them, where he didn't want to harm them, he wanted to live among them until one of them crossed him. But in the second season, they sort of forget that, and they just treat all of these supernatural characters as if they're humans who can occasionally make their eyes glow.
Yeah.
And it just, I don't know. I'm hoping it gets better. There's 5 seasons. First season, right, I really liked. I binge watched it in a couple days because it had me hooked. I'm watching the second season on pure momentum because
you're hoping to get through it, and maybe it's like a Peaky Blinders thing where I'll pick up again.
Yeah, exactly. Because Peaky Blinders, I think it was season 3, got kind of dull, and I was just like, ugh. But by the time it got to season 4 and 5, it started to pick up again.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping it's the same thing. Like, I'm hoping season 2 is just a slump.
So, first off, when you're drawing or painting or something, right? You never use in my experience, you never use straight black, right? You never use the color black. Because once you do, you cannot get any darker than that, right?
Yeah.
By the same logic, if you start off using the devil, where do you go from the devil?
You have to invent new supernatural characters to kind of combat
are
it.
More powerful. And there's only one person, as far as I can tell in that series, who's more powerful, and that's God. That leads me to my second question: is there Morgan Freeman in the film?
So far, no. But they do a good job, and they do stick close to, like, I love using the phrase "the lore." They do a good job using the actual, like, Christian. Yeah, exactly. Using the Christian canon to to bring in characters that are equally or more powerful.
Right.
Like, the devil wasn't even he was supposed to be one of God's angels, but there are literally, I think in the Bible, hundreds of angels. Maybe not hundreds, but definitely
there's a lot of things that way. Yeah.
So, and he wasn't even the most powerful angel. It's one of the reasons that he led a rebellion against heaven in the Bible, and he got cast out for that reason.
Wasn't David the most powerful? I don't know much about the Bible.
No, David wasn't an angel. He was a dude.
I thought he led the forces of God. Who am I thinking of?
You might be right, actually.
Oh my god, did I out religion you?
You may have.
Oh my god.
Like most religious people, it's been a while since I've read the Bible.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
But
yeah.
But point being, they do a very good job, like, in the first season and the beginning of the second season. They do such a good job sticking to that lore and that, like, deep religious kind of, like, pool of characters.
Please tell me that they reference, because there's so many great jokes that could come about from this. if like Lucifer ran into the Westboro Baptist Church, for example.
They have not plumbed those depths yet.
They haven't gone like down the. I was gonna say the private.
They did make one very lazy joke about Trump in the second season.
That's kind of a bit too.
It's too like it felt like, okay, hey, look at us, we're a TV show, we're talking about the current day.
Yeah. We've got political views.
It's lazy writing, but doesn't matter. They do that, but they haven't plumbed those depths yet. One thing that pisses me off, and there are several episodes where I literally predicted the entire plot just based on modern day tropes.
Yeah.
Like, there was an episode where some guy, it's about social media, and some guy is finding people on social media who have uploaded terrible things, like revenge porn or videos of like prank videos that went too far and things like that. And some guy takes it upon himself, some person takes it upon themselves to avenge these by brutally murdering the people that uploaded them.
Okay.
And so it becomes
Death Note style.
Yeah, exactly. But it's not like Death Note. It was just you wrote the name, they got a heart attack. This guy, like, I think one of the first ones, he literally burned a guy to death at the stake and put like accelerant on his crotch, so his balls burned first.
Right.
Brutal stuff. But what they did in the series, and they tried for most of the episode to make you think that it was this one woman who was the one who was doing it. And it's a series, it's like a mainstream TV show in the modern day, and so I immediately was like, no, she didn't do it. A, she's not white. B, she's a woman. They will not make her the bad guy. Like, and sure enough, it wasn't her. There's a plot twist at the very end where they bring in some random character to be the bad guy.
Right. Okay.
There were several tropes like that. Like, I was able to, like, that's maybe one of the most on the nose examples. But there are several episodes where I'm like, just by stereotyping, I'm like, yep, I know what's going to happen in this episode. Yep,
I know what the mainstream media's opinion is.
Yeah. I know what not even the media, just like the mainstream zeitgeist.
Public opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The way that Hollywood kind of works now, and not that it's necessarily a bad thing. It's just overdone.
Yeah,
like
there's been a lot of female strength films.
It's like westerns, right? Westerns were like a hugely popular thing, and then everyone was doing like a western style movie, like a Dirty Harry lookalike sort of thing, and they got overdone, and now no one really does them anymore. It's the same thing. Like in the modern day, there's this new kind of zeitgeist, this new kind of trope for movies and TV shows, and it was interesting and cool back in like 2013 and 2014 and 2015. But now in 2020, it's just overdone.
To be fair, there are a few specialist cowboy-esque films that are still being released, like Hateful Eight.
Okay.
I think that was
they're making a comeback. I do want to stop us here though, because we are now with the mild transition that we did. Segment 2 is now close to 50 minutes long.
Okay. So the transition was like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're gonna end segment 2. So because we were at 27 minutes when we did the break, and now we're at 15 minutes. So we're coming close to 50 minutes here. I don't want segment 2 to be huge, so I'm gonna do an outro here, and then we can move on to segment 3, which at this point I think is just going to be continuing this discussion because I really want to keep going with this.
Mayhaps.
Or maybe you have an idea. Either way. If you're listening to this during the week, this is the end of segment 2. If you're listening to the full podcast, you'll hear us again in just a few seconds with a brief transition. But either way, thank you for listening.